So we have finally finished writing the test. Let's have some fun and actually run this test. I'm going to come up here and select to run this test. Obviously, this is Visual Studio and Selenium Webdriver. If you're utilizing a different automation framework and a different programming language, you would just run it as normal for your programming language. So fantastic. The test succeeded as expected. You can see that by the green check mark here. Now, one other step that I like to do before actually calling my test done is to make sure that it's actually failing. I consider that just as equally as important as making sure that the test passes, if not more. Because if you're getting false positives in regards to the passing, that's really bad because you're missing bugs that should be recorded in the application. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to execute this test in debug mode. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click debug. And also notice my breakpoint on line 37. My Visual Studio is going to stop at that point. And then I'm going to mess with the graphical user interface of the application to make sure that the test actually fails. And cross my fingers and hope that it actually does. Fantastic. So we stopped here. And I can go back to the page. And actually, rather than being here, what I can do is just go back to courses.ultimateqa.com. So now I've redirected the page to the wrong location. And in theory, it should not pass. I'm going to go ahead and step into this method because there's something that I wanted to change here. And that was the time span for how long we're going to wait for the loading icon. I'm going to decrease that to 3 seconds so that we don't wait for the whole 30 seconds because it's unnecessary. I'm going to step over all of this. It's going to wait for 3 seconds for the element to be visible. It's not going to be found. You can see that the WebDriver timeout exception was thrown. And now I'm going to return false. And when we return false, our assertion is going to fail. And then when I finish the execution of the test, I get a little X over here. And that little X, when I expand it, is going to tell me that the course did not open successfully. And that's a fantastic message that tells me exactly what went wrong. And I am very happy with this test. If you wanted to take it a step further and make sure that your test is really stable, and I recommend that for a lot of you, I actually do this with most of my tests, is you can actually run this in a loop of about 10 or 20 times. And you need to make sure that your test passes 100% of the time. So my framework allows me to do that really easily. I can come up here and put a retry, and then I can just specify how many times I want to run this test, and then I can easily run it. I hope that your framework allows the same thing. Worst case scenario, you can just put this method inside of a loop and run it, but that's a little bit more painful. But I do strongly recommend that because it helps to flush out any kinds of synchronization issues that you may miss along the way.